hot topic right now is the combine, or maybe it's not. I don't know. You look at the Ohio State guys, and not too many of them did a whole lot this year at the combine. We had some guys who improved their draft stock. I think we had a few guys that may have hurt themselves just a bit, but we only had 3 guys run the 40, but man, they were impressive.
Yeah, yeah. I
We
mean,
had
nobody more than Q, right?
Q with the 4.48 at his size, 221. I mean, that's impressive.
Yeah, and because I remember people look at the long run against Notre Dame in the Natty game, and they say he got caught, and I think he's got J.K. Dobbins type speed, where it's a little deceptive, more quick than anything. But I mean, honestly, he just locked himself a first round draft pick. I gotta believe. I mean, they know the production's there. They know he can block. They know he's selfless. They know he'll take a role where he'll duplicate with somebody else. And you're just worried about his top end speed. Now you ain't got to worry about that anymore. Wait till he gets to the pro day and runs his cone drills and things like that. And you find out how quick he is. He's already strong. You know that he can carry a load or he can be a compliment. So he's he can do anything. So first round draft pick lock.
Yeah,
Yeah, absolutely.
and Johnny, he just mentioned Quinshon, but how about Travion in the 4.43 that he ran?
Yeah, to be expected that he posted the best time of all Buckeyes. However, I think he's got more in him. You watch him in Q play, and you're like, there's more than 5/100ths of a second difference between those two. That's why it's so impressive that what Q did at his size to even get close to Travion, because on the field, Travion just bursts, right? And it could be, it could be one of those things where people say, well, you got to wait till pro day. It takes months of rest and proper training just for that 40 to really put an explosive time. I think if you watch, I expected 4.39, 4.38, maybe 4.4 flat from Trey. Maybe Cory and I talked early. Maybe it's a 0 to 20 burst. That's really impressive. But flat out speed as an asset he has. There's very few backs in the league with speed like him. And it's a very fast burst. So, he's faster than the corner that ran on the team. So, good enough, I think, for him. I think a pro day would bolster him even more. But 4.43, not surprised in the least. If anything, I think he's got a little bit to trim there.
Yeah, and you mentioned it there, Johnny. Denzel Burke, 4.48. Good speed, but do you think that he helped himself at all, or just kind of stood pat?
If anything, stood pat.
Status quo. Yeah.
I don't think there's anything he did to separate himself at all. I mean, I don't even know if he's totally recovered from that Oregon game. I mean, he had a really solid second half of the season, obviously. Name wasn't called a ton, but I mean, he didn't make any big plays or splashy plays either. I mean, I don't know. You're gonna really have to study the film on him to really feel good about drafting him. There's nothing in his numbers that go, oh yeah, take this kid. He's an athlete. We'll figure it out later.
Yeah, he definitely didn't jump out at you like an Akuta speed or and then he's not as maybe a guy like Marshawn Lattimore isn't just jaw-droppingly fast, but he's so sticky to a receiver. Denzel showed glimpses of that early on, so maybe that's where it overcomes. Like Cory said, people, 4.48 as an NFL corner, I almost feel like is status quo, dime a dozen, but also not bad. Like most starters are probably in that area, So I don't want to run him down. That's not slow by any means, right? But it's going to be how well does he play the position? How are his hips? The agility drills, to see if he can separate himself into getting off the board before top 20.
Yeah. Now I'll tell you, Tyler brings up something here before we dive into maybe some guys that might have hurt their stock a little bit for the Buckeyes. Did anybody hurt their stock here maybe more than Tez Johnson? I mean, here's a guy that he's 154 pounds and only ran a 4.55.
That's like smaller than Oregon's old LaMichael James and other and
Yeah.
like, yeah, I maybe it's a bad day. I gotta think Tez is faster than that,
Or he's just
but
really quick, at least. I mean,
yeah, but 154 pounds, Tez, you knew. You knew the day of the test. You knew they were weighing you. You couldn't have drank a gallon of milk and water. Like Tez, you knew. Maybe he couldn't drink the water because then he'd have to run. But I mean, drink the water and then say you have a hurt hamstring, play it and run at pro day. Like Tez, a buck 54. Uh, I will say, not everybody's 154 pounds are created equally. That was Cory's live birth weight. Um, so but I will just say that maybe he is like Devontae Smith, where he's really slight but deceptively strong. I'm surprised you make it to Division I football being 154 pounds without getting snapped in half.
I think even if he ran a 4.31, people would look at that weight and go, "I don't know."
Yeah.
I mean, it's a solid birth weight, but NFL Combine, ugh.
He's not
That's
a
high
big
school weight.
guy.
That's
Yeah.
high school weight.
Can you imagine this guy going across the middle and running into a linebacker? They're
Yeah.
gonna snap him in half.
Yeah, I'm surprised it hasn't happened already, dude. I'm really am.
Didn't he miss time this year?
He did.
I
Yeah.
mean, so therefore he had the health questions on top of the weight questions. Now your speeds in the 5.45s. Okay, you're a 6th round draft pick now. I don't know what else.
Yeah.
I don't
Yeah.
take him up in one of my top draft choices. Absolutely, I take a flyer on him in the 6th round.
Now I gotta Google something, guys. What's the lightest player ever at the combine?
Well, it wasn't me as a baby. So
No.
Did
I
your
honestly
parents
don't
try?
know.
And I will give you a guess. It rhymes with Shmez Schmonson as the lightest player
Yeah.
ever at the. Well, he's certainly lightest this year. I can't find.
yeah,
No. Yeah.
Richard's right on here. Any of the offensive linemen's leg weight is
Yeah.
154
The
pounds.
leg weighs 150. Yeah.
Yeah, we should make a thing like how many times can an offensive lineman bench press Tez Johnson? That should be a new
That's
test.
lighter than they're used to by 100 pounds.
Yeah.
Well, I'll tell you somebody who probably could bench press Tez Johnson, and that's one Will Howard. Will
Easily.
went out there, didn't run. Going to save that for the pro day. Had the lowest rating on the vertical jump at 31 and a half. Lowest rating for a quarterback on the broad jump at 9'4". The 7.13 in the cone, the 4.33 in the shuttle, respectable. But doesn't blow you away. And then you saw him go out there and throwing, and he had some definite timing issues on those deep passes.
And
How
Shadur
much?
Sanders came to his defense of all people.
Yeah. And I love Will. I love his leadership. But how much do you think that he got hurt at the combine?
I think anybody who talks about him as a 1st round draft pick at this point, I'm talking about executives, they're just trying to blow smoke to get somebody to reach on him. Because at best, he's a 3rd, 4th round draft pick. And I think he's a guy that could, and he showed he could improve. I mean, Ryan Day had done wonders with him. And he's shown he can make great passes. It isn't like he's
Yeah.
never made great passes. But that being said, again, it's in shorts, new receivers. You have them thrown with them, and stuff like that. There's
Right.
timing issues. I mean, I get that, and there's an element to that. I think the coaches take into consideration when they're actually watching these guys. But I mean, the game film's going to have to say more than what his combine results did, obviously. But I mean, again, to me, he's a guy you take the 3rd or 4th round. Maybe someday he develops into a starter, like a Kirk Cousins type. But that being said, you don't take him with the idea that he's going to be your franchise guy. You take him because he's a great locker room kid. He's coachable. He's a leader. He's got talent. Definitely got talent. And you see what happens with him. But that I just don't. Anybody who was talking about 1st round draft pick, I just didn't understand it. I think it's just hype. I just think he's definitely a 3rd to 4th round guy. And I'm not knocking him. I love Will, but I think that's just the reality of it.
Yeah. What's
I
your
think
thoughts, Johnny?
I think if this was 10 years ago, Will Howard's praying with that combine to even get off the board at all. Nowadays, I mean, we just saw Jalen Hurts win a Super Bowl. Lamar Jackson is borderline almost won his 3rd MVP this year. Quarterbacks who can't throw great nowadays in the NFL, you can build a system around them like you do in college to make them successful. I mean, come on, guys. Jalen Hurts just won a Super Bowl. Jalen Hurts is bad. Like he's not a good, like you knew who he was coming out. None of us thought we'd be sitting here saying that, right? So Will's biggest saving grace is that he plays in this day and age in the NFL. If I'm a team and I can say, yeah, I could build the whole thing around him, but the teams that do that are already, San Francisco could take a late round with him. I could think he'd do what Brock Purdy's doing. The only teams I think can really build around him is maybe Arizona, maybe, I doubt it though, maybe obviously Philadelphia, but they got their guy. Baltimore, they got their guy. So I think when it comes to just flat testing measurables, letting it rip, Will is kind of who we always thought he was. I think the game film is going to have to save him because I do think he's better than what a combine will show. I think he is a better quarterback than what a combine will show. But to Cory's point, I just don't know that a GM is going to be like, hey, first round, this guy, do it. He's going to have a great pro day. I think he plays better again than he can test. I'm not saying he's as bad as he tested, but it's man, like Cory said, who's going to go first round with him? I just feel like it'd be a waste of a pick, to be honest. And I'm a Will Howard fan.
Yeah, I am as well. And I'll tell you, one team I didn't hear you mention, I think maybe would be somebody that might look at him, especially if they can get him in a bargain later, might be in Miami. Because you think about Tua and how much is he going to be out there,
Yeah, he'd be a vegetable soon.
Yeah.
Gosh. What they're doing to Tua is borderline criminal.
It really is. I mean, somebody needs to step in there and say, listen, this guy does not need to be on the field anymore. The league needs to step in at this point.
15 concussions later, and we don't need him to be a vegetable at 35, So.
Yeah, absolutely. And then the other guy we heard that, might have hurt himself a little bit, and more so because of measurables than anything else, is Jack Sawyer. He has a small
Johnny,
wingspan.
cover your ears.
Hey, I love Jack Sawyer. I do. I think he's great.
We all do, man.
But he does have a small wingspan. We can't deny that. I mean, we looked it up. What is it? 6 inches shorter than JT?
Yeah, like
5. Yeah,
and he's got small hands compared to JT.
He's got smaller hands. But like Will Howard, man, that guy's just a gamer.
Yeah.
But there was also a couple plays, I guess, during the position drills where maybe he had some footing issues. So some people are saying that may have hurt him a little. I don't personally think it has. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I don't. I think Jack's a guy that they know he's talented. They know he can play, but kind of a tweener. What position you really putting him at. He's not completely a defensive end at the next level, at least not in the prototypical system. I think, but I could see him having a John Cooper type of career where he actually puts up some seasons that kind of surprise you and like, wow, I really didn't think he was going to be that good. He's another Will Howard guy with more talent. I mean, to me, he's heart leader. He's just a guy you want in your locker room. I mean, I'd take a flyer in the second round on him just because, like, look, even if he's like an average player, he's just an infectious attitude we want in the locker room that can help build the culture that we need to win a Super Bowl here. I completely believe that about Jack Sawyer. Now, and I would tell my defensive coach, figure it out because he can play. He's not terrible by any stretch of imagination. Quite frankly, he had a really good year last year. Now, figure it out, get him on the field, and make him a locker room leader. And did he hurt himself? I mean, some GMs are dumb and they only look at measurables.
Yeah.
And I mean, just stupid. They make bad decisions year in and year out. And this is why they're out of the league in 3 years, or their franchise is continuously bad. It's because they don't look at guys like Jack Sawyer and say, you know what? I know he doesn't have the measurables, but dang it, he's got the heart. He's got what I want in a locker room presence. And he's also a good player. He just happens to be a really good player, too. And he comes from a university that played big boy football, so.
Oh, yeah.
I just say, if he did hurt himself, it's with the GMs that are like, oh, I don't like his hand size. Forget it,
Johnny?
Yeah, to go on with that, JTT's got longer arms. Jack Sawyer has a longer strip six sack to seal a national championship. Jack Sawyer has more sacks. Jack Sawyer, you think, okay, what's length good for? Leverage and hand movement. But dude, you just swatted a dude's hands down to his ankles and made a strip six. He had you guys. You guys see the batted balls Jack had? He had more
Yeah.
PBUs than some
yeah.
defensive backs. So I'm not concerned. Like Cory said, if you're a GM and you're a little bit put off by his length, it's not like tiny by any. He's just not a giant, Then I got to think you're really dumb. Like Jack can play. We saw how he played basketball in high school, how he ran. He is a good athlete. He was 260. I mean, Cory sold it like he was 225. He's 260. He can play. I'm not now. He didn't do. I say he didn't do himself like favors by showing up not huge, but he is the size he is. He can move. He can play.
Yeah, there was nothing he could do about that.
Yeah, right. And I mean, Sam Hubbard's had a really nice career at Cincinnati as the off defense. I think he can have that type of career. Cincinnati picked him at 17. I wouldn't be very upset at all. I would say that's a great spot to spell Trey Hendrickson. I think Jack, you can do different things with him. And like Cory said, he reminds me of a little bit smaller John Simon, maybe.
Yeah.
And John Simon actually did get converted to, I think, a stand-up linebacker in a 3-4, but similar position. He's going to have to.
Wasn't it Bill Belichick who used him that way?
I believe so. Yeah.
Yes.
And so may even been Patricia. I think that was pre-Patricia, but may not have been. So I think Jack's fine. He just didn't wow anything. I think if anything, it's just I think more than hurting Jack, it helped JTT because JTT didn't have a ton of production. But then you look and you say, well, he's huge. Like he's got a really long arm span, and he's I could see Pittsburgh taking a guy like JTT and just being a run stopper for years to come.
Yeah. Now the other guys, I mean, we had a lot of guys didn't do a whole lot. Now I know that I believe Tyleek actually did some of the position drills.
And he looked great.
He looked great. This is a guy who's going to be a first-round draft pick. I
Easily
firmly believe that.
I was going to ask about that. How did he look movement? Because, I mean, it's 331 pounds.
He looked really well. His footwork
he is
was
so
excellent.
Freakishly athletic at that size. It doesn't make sense. He's a first-round draft pick unless teams are just dumb, which they are. Green Bay needs some defensive linemen. I would love it if they got him. He's a disruptor. We got DeAndre Wyatt from Georgia a couple years back. He's been off and on. Go get me Tyleek Williams. That dude will disrupt line of scrimmage.
I mean, that is insane that he showed up at 331 and or 326, whatever it was, and it wasn't harmful. You know what I mean? Like that he can move at that size. I'm not going to say he's Ed Oliver, but that's something like you would see from a guy like that. You know what I mean?
Well, Ed Oliver was also 280, wasn't he?
Yeah, but the movement, you know what I mean? Ed Oliver was, oh my gosh, you got to have this guy type of guy.
I think Tyleek's close to that too. I think he's close to he's such an. I don't know who's the elite defensive tackle in the draft this year, but I know Tyleek's got to be in that top 3 range where it's like, dude, we need a middle 3 tech who's massive. I mean, he's a massive 3 tech. That's how fast he is. That's crazy. I know he played nose tackle for it, but I mean, like he can play 3 tech.
So obviously these guys looking for big showings at their pro days. All these guys, we saw so many of them not do a whole lot, but let's think about this for a second, guys. How many do we legitimately think are we going to break the record for guys taken in this year's draft?
I think we get 15. Does that break the record? I think it ties it.
It would. Well, I think 14 is the record, isn't it?
I'm not sure if it's 15 or 14. I can't remember. It's one of them. Georgia, I think, has it, doesn't they? Don't they?
Georgia does have the record, yes.
Yeah, we're gonna. Everyone who you think is going to get drafted is going to get drafted. I don't see Will fall into undrafted free agent.
No.
That would be your biggest question mark.
Well, do you think there would be a chance that maybe some of these guys coming off of injury could possibly fall out? Maybe a Seth McLaughlin. I don't see it happening.
Nah,
Nah.
he's a probably a third round pick or so.
O lineman too much of a premium. Yeah.
And Jackson and Simmons both are looking first round. So
And will there be any concern at all about Lathan Ransom's injury history?
I
I
mean,
don't
there's
think.
maybe, but he'll still get drafted probably second
Yeah.
or third round. So
You
Yeah.
think he'll still go second or
I
third round?
think
yeah,
I think he did himself a lot of favors by showing up at over 200 pounds.
shoot, by the end of his career, he was hurting people.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was. Gosh, I've never. Yeah, G Scott. That's a good question. I don't know
G
that G
Scott,
will
yeah.
get drafted. I was also thinking
He'll
about
get an
this.
invite
He'll get an
somewhere.
invite somewhere. Yeah.
I would love if Cincinnati pulled him in like the 6th round because they do that little late release, keep the tight end in to block, and then just release late and try to get the because their O line's terrible, and he's a great character kid, great locker room
Yes.
guy. I would, dude. If my team picks him up in the 6th round, I'd be all about it. I'm manifesting it that Jack Sawyer's going in the first to the Bengals. Trey Henderson's going in the second to the Bengals, steal of the draft. And then in the 6th, we're getting G Scott, and that's just
Well,
the way it's going to go
I
down.
hate to disagree with you, Johnny, but the Browns
No,
are
you
getting these
don't. You
guys
don't
because
hate to do it.
no team needs better character more than the Browns.
I mean, I'm not going to disagree that they need
Yeah,
it.
but here's the thing: I don't want the Browns culture to crush their character.
Yeah.
That's the problem. Like Dunder Mifflin slowly just destroys people over time. I just don't. But I mean, like, look.
Hey,
I
listen,
think
as long as it's not a quarterback, they should be okay.
actually, Will
Let's
Howard would
face it,
make a lot of
Cleveland is
sense
where
for the Cleveland
quarterbacks
Browns.
go to die. I know he does. He makes a whole lot of sense up there.
Who
I'm
does?
scared for
Will
Will
Howard.
Howard.
No one makes sense up there. Is that why he makes sense? Like nobody makes sense up there.
I got a hot take for you though. I actually think G Scott's going to end up being. He's not going to get drafted. But he'll get invited. And what will happen is he somehow carves out a 10-year career in the NFL because
I could see that.
he'll be like a bit of a niche player, and not a journeyman. He'll be on like 4 teams or whatever.
Yeah.
But he'll have seasons where he gets like 21 catches and like 400 yards and stuff like that.
I mean, think about it. The guy came. What about a guy sticking with it, changing position, sticking with it until he? I mean, what he did all 5 years, never transferred. I mean, if that doesn't show he's got that stick to itiveness, I don't know what does. He's a very a man with a lot of character, very well spoken man. I think. Yeah, he could slip in and maybe help you break the record. I've heard people ask, let me ask about this Josh Fryer, if he's a draft pick or not. I've heard some people say no, some people say yes. To me, I say, look, Isaiah Prince started in the NFL. So I don't see how Josh Fryer keeps from being a draft pick.
I mean, he could be a guard somewhere,
Now Fryer's not got that. At least Isaiah Prince had like, hey, I am huge and I can maul people in the run game type thing. But he's so terrible in pass pro, and he made it to the NFL. I would think, yeah, in a Super Bowl. I'm pretty sure that's scary. But I think that's a good thing for Fryer. So I don't know. You could, Simon's definitely going. I mean, the list gets longer and longer. McLaughlin's going. Yeah, so.
So Johnny's actually predicted 17.
Potentially 17.
Potentially.
Well,
17. Man, that would be awesome.
I guess is it 17 if G and Fryer both get drafted? If G and
Fryer would both get, then you're looking at 17.
I think you got to get one of the two drafted, don't you? And then that's 16, and that's the record.
I can't believe Josh Fryer didn't even get an invite to the combine because I'm like, do the NFL scouts really not desire him at all? I mean, he was a starting right tackle for a national title winning offensive line. You wouldn't even give him a look?
Yeah, it is strange. Maybe it's just he doesn't, maybe they felt that he was they hid him as a player, ran a lot of counter. Maybe it's his just, he doesn't have a lot of great measurables. I'm not sure, but that is an interesting point, Corey. Like you just hung a banner and you started all year with
He's a
a
2-year starter at Ohio State.
Yeah, that is strange. That is strange not to get. I know he started off rocking the Browns.
Just to piss Chris off.
I don't even have the energy to deal with this tonight.
Dude, I'm not gonna lie, Chris. If that actually happened, I'd be thinking of you and just rolling over laughing.
You know what the good thing about like the McCord personality is probably if the Browns took him, he'd be like, nah, I ain't doing it.
He'd pull an Eli Manning.
Yeah, he'd be like, I just go play in Canada or something.
He'd
I don't know.
pull like a third round Eli Manning is what.
Yeah, like I'm not going there. Like you're bad enough on quarterbacks in the first round. What are you going to do to me?
Right. All right. So that pretty much wraps up the combine, guys. But I'll tell you, we're gonna have a lot more to talk about these guys as we come up on pro day.
Mm-hmm.
Going to be really exciting to see what happens there.
Pro day is going
Something
to be
else.
the day, and I also want to see the buzz after pro day just dropping in everybody's ear. Does Emeka stay first round, and could Trey slide into the first round? Question for the chat: could Trey slide into the first round with a sub 4.40?
Absolutely.
Oh yeah,
Because he can do
I think
everything
so.
else well. If he has that crazy top end speed, people, all right, give him to me, please.
All right, here we go, chat. This one's for you while we get ready to start the next topic. How many first round picks do the Buckeyes have this year?
I'm going six. Oh, first round picks. Oh, I almost
First
said
round
16.
picks.
16.
If they have 16 first round picks this year, there are
If
some
we went, I
GMs
don't care
getting
if we won a
fired.
natty. If we went 10-2 with 16 first rounders, you
Fire
got
Ryan Day.
yeah. Give him a trophy and fire him.
First rounders.
Lunatic has us at 7.
No.
No,
I think
I'm
that's a
thinking
little much, guys.
I think
Lunatic. Love you,
4
Lunatic. No.
4 on the best day. Wait, no, 5. 5
Five
on
on the best day. 4, I think, is the
Yeah,
bar.
so who you Mecca's absolutely a first rounder.
That guy I think is a first rounder.
Late first rounder, yeah.
Is Tyleek going in the first round?
Yeah, I
Tyleek
think
goes
Tyleek
first
first
round.
round. Yeah.
Josh Simmons is going in
Josh
the
Simmons
first
going
round.
first round.
Donovan Jackson.
Ah, really?
Yeah,
I think Donnie slides.
yeah,
the
he's
second
creating
round.
some serious buzz right now. Yeah.
At what position?
Tackle. They like him at tackle.
Okay. I'll
No, if
buy
he was a
that.
guard, I'd say no, but tackle,
Yeah.
yes.
Okay.
So that's 4.
There's 4.
I think Quinshawn definitely.
I think we can assume one of the running backs can slide in.
One of the quarterbacks can slide in. A lot of things got to go right, but
I've got a ceiling at 5 right
now,
now.
I don't. Is it out of the realm of possibility somebody takes Jack Sawyer at 23? I don't think that's goofy. Do you?
I'll put the ceiling at 6, and I think the floor is 4. So I think.
Put the ceiling at 7 and the floor at 9.
Okay.
No, I'm just kidding. No, I think. Ooh, that is lunatic. May not be so. I mean,
he is a lunatic.
Here's the thing.
7's an awful lot, though.
You can talk me into 7. You can talk me into 4 because I can say I can get a Quinshon Judkins in the third round. I may not get him, but I get one really close to him. I can get him. Dude, how good. You see great receivers in the second and third round all the time. All the time.
Yeah, but there's always teams that reach for these players. I mean, they see the 4.48 on a 220 guy, and they're like, "Oh, that's my guy. He needs a production runner." So,
I mean, it's got to be. I guess we got a lot of guys that we think about between 15 and 30, right?
I mean, remember they allow the Jets to draft, so that just
they do allow, and the Packers. While we're here,
15 to
Cory,
45 is going to be actually pretty hot and heavy for the Buckeyes.
That I will go, man. If the
15 to 45, I think is heavy for Buckeyes.
Mm-hmm.
You probably get 8 in the first 2. I think we can all agree on that.
At least, yeah.
I think for whatever reason, I think Tyleek's just an absolute surefire first round. I can't see anybody passing up a defensive tackle that athletic, and he was an absolute menace on film, a menace. Even for plays he wasn't in on, you could see him destroying people. So.
And when you're talking about slipping into the second round, did you see Ty Hamilton standing there in his sleeveless shirt next to Sawyer?
He was a beast.
What a giant.
Dude, he's a steal in that third to fourth round range.
He had a pretty good workout.
Yeah.
It
looks like he's had a couple hundred good workouts in his day. I mean, that guy's a giant, man. His head or his arms were this big.
How much do you think his brother's development in the NFL, which was pretty good, he got a second contract, do you think helps him? Because Devon been pretty good in the NFL.
Yes, and early, his rookie season, they were like, "Oh, this Devon Hamilton guy's working out."
I think it all comes down to the right team. That's the big thing.
Yeah.
If the right team gets him, he could be on a path to a long career.
Absolutely. He'll be one of those 10-year guys if he gets on the right franchise, like you said. If he goes to like the Jets, well, sorry, Ty, I don't know what to tell you.